Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. It is wonderful to have you along for the ride, although today's ride is going to be bumpy. And I don't mean the typical Farzy Show technical difficulties bumpy, at least I hope not. What I mean is it's bumpy in that we'll hear from Jalen Hurts respond to the report by Derek Gunn of people at the NovaCare complex frustrated with how Jalen's running the offense. And then it gets even bumpier because you know who you really needed to chime in on this situation and make it worse? DeSean Jackson, who used the term, I believe it was situationships with quarterbacks that he's had over the years. I'm aware of what a situationship is in the romantic world. I am unaware of what a situationship is in the sports world, in the football world in particular. But hey, DeSean Jackson, nice to have you. And the 76ers were terrible. They were terrible last night against the Toronto Raptors, but still made it a 3-point game in the fourth quarter after losing the third quarter, getting outscored 44-26. And how about this one? Turning the basketball over a season high 21 times. It got to the point, especially in that fourth quarter last night, where the Sixers turned the ball over 8 times for 15 Raptor points. It got to a point last night where when I just saw someone drive the lane and realized that they were going to have a play. Like you can just see kind of the defense stacking up or, help defense coming over from the weak side. And they're like, they're going to have to kick out. And already I was like, they're going to have to kick out and this ball is going to get taken away. And more often than not, that's exactly what happened. Like, oh, that's not going to work. Oh, turnover. Laziness with the basketball, flat out just being dumb with the basketball. It was not a fun game to watch. The fourth quarter, when the Sixers were actually making a run and trying to make a game of it, which they did when it cut to a 3-point deficit, they did. They made a game of it. But I had a similar feeling against the Clippers, and I am convinced that the Clippers, being on the second leg of a back-to-back, just didn't have the legs to finish out that game. But I had the feeling in the fourth quarter of that game against the Clippers that the Sixers, they're still learning how to win. This group, especially without Joel Embiid, now without Kelly Oubre, who's going to be out at least 2 weeks now with that LCL strain, this team still has to fight. Paul George, however he's going to be used, they're still finding a way. They're learning how to win. The wins that they have gotten this year, they have found ways to win, often late in those games. But last night was just an ugly, terrible basketball game to follow. Thanks for the thrill, though, in the fourth quarter. A little edge of the seat stuff, and be like, oh, no, they're not going to win this game. Let's start it off with Jalen Hurts. Jalen addressed the media yesterday. I give you guys a full, how long do I have here? Full 2 minutes and 30 seconds of Jalen Hurts being asked about the report of people being frustrated with him, from players to staffers, if you will, on how he is running the Philadelphia Eagles offense. I give you Jalen Hurts speaking for himself.
Jalen, there's a report over the weekend that there's some frustration building in the locker room with your approach. How do you kind of digest that, and what's sort of your reaction to it?
Just go to work every day. And continue to go out there and try and do my best.
Being in the position you are as a starting quarterback in this league, does that kind of come with the territory? And how do you learn to deal with it?
I think it definitely does. And, I take a lot of the responsibility when things are going. I guess I get a lot of attention when things are going well and when things are not going so well. And so I never run away from holding myself accountable. And I think, I think that's exactly what I've taken the approach of doing. When I look at this last game, I take great pride in what we do on offense. I take great pride in how we go out there and play as a team and what our flow is. And so we obviously got work to do, and I think that obviously starts with me. That's always my approach. That's always me looking internally first in everything that we do, and then in due time rising above.
If there are frustrations from your teammates or coaches with you? Do you feel like you're open to them coming to you with?
Well, I can't get into hypotheticals of if. Ultimately, it's about coming in here and working and leading and bringing good energy and going out there and showing about how you work. You know, at the end of the day, we come out here we are here to play as a team and to play together and go out there and find ways to win. And so that's where we all have our focus at.
So those things haven't been brought to you directly?
I don't want to get into that. I know it hasn't, though.
How about you personally?
Y'all bring it to me. I mean, you know, I think it's a bit of a different thing. Again, I don't want to get into the weeds of anything ultimately.
But from a personal level, that's what I was going to ask you about. How you sort of, I assume you get frustrated at times with certain things. How do you sort of overcome that?
It comes with the nature of it. You know, everybody's going to have an opinion, and I give a lot of respect to those things. Ultimately, you know, we're all here to do the same thing. And so it's about the pursuit of that, you know, and I've always encouraged trying to work together to achieve that.
I really do give him a lot of credit for. I honestly expected after the first question, when the second question was being asked, for him to say, like he did with AJ, guys, we're not going to, we got Dallas coming up this week. I was honestly expecting him to just cut it off. And he didn't. He took 2.5 minutes to address a pretty damning report, in all honesty. When Gunnar used the phrase Carson Wentz 2.0, that gets a lot of people's attention, myself included. I will say that the situation in terms of the Eagles wanting more control and the quarterback not willing to give it, yeah, maybe that's true. However, Carson Wentz has never won a playoff game. Carson Wentz was, sure, you could say in line for the MVP award, but did he win it? No. And that team went on to win a Super Bowl without him. And then the following year, win another playoff game without him. And I'll say it again, and I'm sorry to reference it twice this week, but if that ball doesn't go through Alshon Jeffrey's hands, I have no doubt in my mind the Eagles would have been back in the Super Bowl that year. But unfortunately, it slipped through the fingers of Alshon Jeffrey, from the hand of Nick Foles, through the hands of Alshon Jeffrey, and the Eagles were done for the rest of the year. That was where their playoff run ended, unfortunately. But Jalen Hurts has done a hell of a lot more than Carson Wentz in just their time as Eagles. I mean, this is the most obvious thing in the world. So when you say that an organization feels as if the quarterback has them over a barrel because of the contract, $250 million, I don't think it's just about the contract. He's got you over a barrel because he's kind of proven that he knows what the hell he's doing. And you got a first-year play caller in the NFL in Kevin Patullo, and you gave him the keys to the castle. I could understand why Jalen Hurts would be just a wee bit skeptical in all this. Just a wee bit skeptical in all this. And it's a rather unfortunate thing, especially when you look overall at the numbers I put out yesterday. Jalen Hurts on pace for a career year in terms of touchdown passes, a career low in interceptions, a passer rating, a career high, completion percentage damn near a career high. Like, this is just him as a passer. I'm not including tush-push touchdowns here or him as a runner, which, yes, I would like to see him do more. But this is the Carson Wentz comparison doesn't sit well with me, because one of the things that led me to buy into Jalen Hurts well before he was in a Super Bowl was the mental toughness. Was that, yeah, whatever it takes to win. If there are, and again, if Gunnar is saying that there are frustrations in the Eagles facility with Jalen Hurts and how he's running the offense, I believe it, because I can't say this enough. Derek Gunn is not one of those people that's just like, let's get some clicks. You know, he's not. The guy actually has integrity, and I know that's few and far between nowadays, but he does. So if somebody is telling him something worthwhile in that NovaCare complex, he's going to report it. My issue is, and actually Elliott Shore-Parks, I got to give a lot of credit to, because he asked the question of Nick Sirianni yesterday, not of, hey, there's reports out there, what do you have to say? That wasn't the question. The question was, there are people within the organization that are leaking this to the media. What do you have to say about it? And Nick did pretty much exactly what you thought he would do. He talked about how much he likes Jalen Hurts and the frustration that it doesn't really. I don't put too much into it. Bob Lang, PR extraordinaire for the Philadelphia Eagles, he'll prep me on all this stuff, But he didn't really give too much credence to it. As a matter of fact, said just that. He doesn't give a lot of credence to reports like that. But what do you expect? Yeah, Kevin was just telling me how pissed he is about Jalen. He checked out of this play when he called that play, and Kevin really thought that play was going to work, but Jalen didn't like the play, so he checked out of it. No, he's not going to go into that type of detail. That's not going to happen. But I don't fear the Carson Wentz slide, if you will, because Jalen's not Carson. I think anyone who's watched the two careers would know that. But in terms of power over an organization, that's what it's about. Jalen Hurts, I said going into this season that I wanted to see him take more of a command on this offense, similar to the way he did when Cam Jurgens took over for Jason Kelce. Instead of Jalen Hurts relying on a Hall of Fame center to shift protection, call out protection, all that, Jalen took on that responsibility. So then the following year, this year, he's got another first-year offensive coordinator. One of my requests, hey, I'd like to seize this year with Jalen was to know that he was going to take over more responsibility of this offense when you have another first-year play caller at the helm. The unfortunate thing is, though, although Jalen Hurts is on pace for all these career highs and touchdown passes and lows and interceptions and the passer rating and all that, the Eagles' offense has struggled. They are 8th right now, 8th fewest yards per game in the NFL with 300 yards per game. 300 yards per game doesn't sound god-awful, but in this modern NFL, that's terrible. 8th fewest yards per game. As of right now, the Philadelphia Eagles enter this game against the Dallas Cowboys, averaging 23.4 points per game. That's like a middle-tier number for this Eagles offense this year. That is not great. 23.4 points per game when you're coming off a season where you average 27.2 points per game. So that's a bit of a drop, unfortunately. Also, the run game has been terrible. I don't put that on Jalen. I put that on the offensive line. I put that on Kevin Patullo. And unpopular to ask this question, but if Kevin Patullo got hired as an offensive coordinator out of being a passing game coordinator, so that was he was passing game coordinator, got promoted, an associate head coach, by the way, and got promoted to offensive coordinator, then does run game coordinator mean anything? Because run game coordinator is Jeff Stoutland. And the offensive line has been suspect, banged up, but still suspect. Is Jeff Stoutland not coming up with these blocking schemes? Is Jeff Stoutland not coordinating the run game here? Are the Eagles not listening to Jeff Stoutland here? Because I think that'd be pretty dumb. And I would have to imagine that Jeff Stoutland might know a thing or two about an offensive line and running the football more so than Kevin Patullo. So what is the role of Jeff Stoutland in all this? And I don't bring it up to say, wow, Jeff Stoutland sucks at his job. I say that because I have full confidence that he knows what the hell he's doing. Are the Eagles listening to him? Is Jeff Stoutland frustrated with the Eagles? What is going on here? Because I think of all the guys on the coaching staff, one of the guys on the offensive side of the football, one of the guys you can really look at and say, oh, I got confidence that guy knows what he's doing. It's Jeff Stoutland. So the Eagles tapping into that resource enough? Because I think if they did, they wouldn't be struggling in the run game as much as they would be. Now, Tank Bigsby has been a breath of fresh air. I will say that. But I think this offense would be helped greatly if the run game could really get going. And if it's not going to get going, continue to find ways to put the ball in the hands of Saquon Barkley. That's another thing that I just find wild. And that's where I do look at Kevin Patullo. And if Jalen, and I've said this before, when I've talked about, I think, a quad of blame with the Philadelphia Eagles, when you're looking at why the offense might stall out or have struggles, you're talking about an owner, even though we haven't had this story this year, but we know he's done it in the past, Jeffrey Lurie meddling, wanting to emphasize the passing game and all that. And then the other side of it is also obviously Nick Sirianni's hands in it. Kevin Patullo, and Jalen Hurts. So you're talking about 4 influences on what the Eagles do. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't think that Jalen Hurts is really thinking about what Jeff Lurie wants when he's checking out of a play, but I'm sure Nick Sirianni is. I'm sure Kevin Patullo might. And, yeah, Jeffrey Lurie as well. But I don't think Jalen Hurts is getting back in the shotgun or under center, looking at the defense going, I wonder what Jeff's thinking right now. You know? But we've talked about this quad of blame where we don't know where point the finger. But when you just talk about the coaches, the coordinator, and Jalen Hurts, those are 3 people that have heavy influence over what's happening out there on the football field. And what it appears to be, and this might be where the frustration comes in, Jalen's got final say. If Jalen wants to run or throw a go ball to A.J. Brown on a 4th and 6 like he did against the Packers, when I believe Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo wanted the slant route to Devontae Smith, well, yeah, I can understand why that would be frustrating. And I do find it interesting that after another lackluster performance against the Lions, that this story came out. I find that extremely interesting because it would be a time where a team would be super frustrated with what a quarterback is doing. But I kind of rest assured that Jalen Hurts knows what the hell he's doing. And although it might not look like a guy that you want to run your next quarterback clinic, the bottom line is this guy wins. And there are guys in the past you could talk about. Like I remember Vince Young coming out, right? And he was with Tennessee, and they had a good run there in the beginning of his career, very early in the beginning of his career. Like, he just wins, man. He finds ways to win. But you look at it, and you're like, he's really not winning these. Like, I just remember that. Like, so people will find a compliment for a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, of finding ways to win. I don't always consider that to be a high praise because it's really about how you win. The Rams game, did Jordan Davis block that field goal at the end of the game? Absolutely. If he doesn't do that, did he make it? Yeah, he absolutely probably makes it, and Eagles probably lose that game. But they also are not in that position unless Jalen completely takes over and balls out in that second half. So there are definitely, or there's big plays that he makes throughout the game to help put the game on ice. So I look at Jalen, I'm like, yeah, he absolutely has a huge hand in how they win these games. So I don't want to see that go anywhere. I don't want to see that tainted. I don't want to see that ruined. As I've told you guys a million times, this is something that when I follow the Eagles, this is the moment we've been waiting for with this franchise forever. Forever. This is the moment we've waited for. A Super Bowl winning franchise quarterback. Never had that before. And now with the team at 8-2, by the way, and this quarterback on pace for a career year. Oh, and your running back still, as we went over yesterday, I was surprised to learn, Saquon Barkley is still on pace for over 1,000 yards this season, which I know with one more game, shouldn't really mean all that much, but it is 1,100 yards, so you could look at it as a 17-game schedule. He could be the guy that goes out there and still gets that one more 100-yard game. So even if he didn't have the 17th game, you'd still be looking at a 1,000-yard season. All that's pretty remarkable for an offense that is still looked at as struggling mightily. And the fact of the matter is they are. I mean, when I talk about 8th fewest yards per game in the NFL, middle of the road with 23.4 points per game, down from 27.2 points per game last year. Yeah, I can understand why that'd be struggling. The other thing is, and this has been a theme now, I believe, over the last 2 games in particular against Green Bay and against the Lions, and it's not going to go anywhere when the Eagles face the Cowboys on Sunday afternoon at 4:25. Teams are gunning for you. That absolutely matters. The Eagles aren't sneaking up on anybody, and even more so now, they got a big old highlighter over them and a circle on the calendar as Micah Parsons talked about with a respectful, disrespectful game, getting up to play the Eagles. Aiden Hutchinson talking about how they've been looking at this game on the schedule for a long time because they didn't feel like they got a fair hand dealt to them last year by not being able to face the Eagles when they were 15-2. Like I get that. There's something to be said for that. The Cowboys, if CeeDee Lamb doesn't drop a couple balls in the second half against the Eagles, maybe the Dallas Cowboys are winning that game. There's a lot of things you look at, ifs, and was it ifs and buts, whatever. So I'm sure the Cowboys were looking at this game like, oh, we got to get up. We got to play the Eagles. Got them at home now. Nationally televised game. We got to be up for this one. Everyone is gunning for you as the Super Bowl champion. And I don't think the Eagles even last year were sneaking up on anybody. But now that you're kind of very much well established with, by the way, a Super Bowl MVP quarterback, yeah, I think teams are going to be wanting to best you every chance they get. Now, I think of that whole 2.5 minutes from Jalen Hurts, the best possible thing I could have heard was when he was talking about hypothetical situations. And if somebody was coming up to him frustrated, how does he handle that? He's like, I don't want to get into hypotheticals, but it hasn't happened. I would like to think that when Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have been together for as long as they have now, when Kevin Patullo has been on the staff for as long as he has now, when you have wide receivers in the past that have talked about tough conversations, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, I would like to think that you could have those conversations. If Devontae Smith is comfortable enough to cry on Jalen Hurts' shoulder like he did on the sidelines in New Orleans when the Eagles won that Super Bowl last year, I would think Devontae Smith is comfortable enough with having another tough conversation with Jalen Hurts. So why hasn't that happened this year? Enter DeSean Jackson. I need some help here, folks, because I almost passed out when I read this last night. This is by way of John Clark's Instagram. Thank you, John. By way also of House of Action with DeSean Jackson. Eagles great DeSean Jackson says the situation with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts is about more than just football. Oh, goody. It's something else going on. Now, this is a quote for the people on the podcast. Quote, it's something else going on. I got a relationship with him, AJ. I respect him. I can't say it, but I know it's something else going on. It's not all about football. It's not all about X's and O's. I've had situationships with quarterbacks I don't necessarily like. And when it ain't there, it sticks out like a sore thumb. That's all I'm gonna say.
Everybody's got a whine and a bitch.
Cue the speculation, which I'm not going to do. I'm not going to put any theories together on what it could be. I know everyone else's imagination is going to run wild with this one. But if it's more than just football, then maybe this is just two guys that need to just be put in a room together and say, figure it out. Because I'll never forget the draft night where the Eagles acquired A.J. Brown. And A.J. and Jalen are on their phones, FaceTiming each other, and they're, as giddy as little school children, about the idea of playing together. And now what the hell has happened? And I've told you this. I'm not – Jalen Hurts not perfect. This year, unfortunately, despite the statistics that I've pointed out many times, I always tell you guys numbers never lie, but they sure as hell can deceive. I think they're rather deceitful. You don't look at Jalen Hurts running this offense and be like, they're efficient. So Jalen needs to step up his game. That's very simple. I think also the others around him need to step up their game. Kevin Patullo, Saquon Barkley, this offensive line as a whole. And A.J. Brown, here's a thought. Don't quit on routes. Especially when you have already acknowledged many times over how you're not getting the football. You've also acknowledged many times over how this offense has struggled, and most recently summing up those struggles with calling this offense a bleep show. Then maybe you want to try to capitalize on every opportunity you have when you have one-on-one coverage and there's a deep ball. Act like it's coming to you. Like, we've been more, what's the word? We've been more harsh with guys not busting it down the first baseline in a Phillies uniform over the years than we have with A.J. Brown. And that's exactly the same thing. You want guys to run hard down the first baseline? I want Jalen Hurts to, or I want A.J. Brown to run every route to the fullest. Because he absolutely, Kevin Matullo, he tried to cover for his guy. That's fine. But he didn't get caught up in hand fighting with the DB. He stopped running for like 8 yards. And the ball was 6 yards over his head. You mean to tell me he doesn't keep on running? That's not a big play. That's not at least a 50-50 ball and a tackle right there. And plus, you don't know in that situation if the DB falls, AJ falls, lands on his feet, takes it in for a touchdown. This was just this game against the Lions. Then you go back to the Broncos game, a loss, another deep ball from Jalen Hurts that was right there, and AJ stopped running. And then he tells you, oh, I couldn't have gotten that ball. Okay. All right. Okay. Look, Eagles certainly found a way to win against the Packers. Eagles obviously found a way to win against the Lions. And the defense has been by far the star of the show. And Kobe Dean has been great. Jalen Phillips has been fantastic as an addition to this defense. Actually, so much so he's praised being in Philadelphia so much that people in Miami would be like, why do you hate Miami? He's like, I don't hate I just really like where I am now. That doesn't mean where I was, I hated. You know? Like, if I was a Dolphins fan, I'd be thinking the same thing, so I don't fault him there. But Jalen Phillips has been great. Kobe Dean has been great. Jordan Davis just got Defensive Player of the Week. Jalen Carter's been great. Jalix Hunt has gone from taking little baby steps forward throughout the season to giant leaps. I think they're going to win this game against Dallas because their defense is going to be great. It'd be nice for it to be a flat-out dominant performance where your offense matches the level of play of the defense. That would really send a message. And you know what would really suck? Having the Cowboys be the team to punch you in the mouth. That would really suck. I don't want that to happen. That would be terrible. As I've told you guys before, I don't put much credence into the practice report that comes out on Wednesday. It's walkthrough stuff, and it's an estimate at best. So I don't look at it and go, oh, everything's there. But the Lane Johnson injury, obviously, him being out 4 to 6 weeks, that always sucks. I do really like Fred Johnson, though. He played very well last year. He's played very well this year. When he's had to come in for Lane Johnson, I still don't understand for the life of me why in game one against the Cowboys, Fred Johnson wasn't the first off the bench to replace Lane Johnson. It was Matt Pryor. That's still making my head spin, even though that was 10 weeks ago. So that's where I'm at right now surrounding this Philadelphia Eagles team. Your Philadelphia 76ers. They got blown out in the third quarter again last night. Outscored 44-26. VJ Edgecombe had moments where he was flying through the air. Then he had moments where he was turning the ball over. He was one of 5 Sixers that had at least 3 turnovers last night as they were on their way to a season-high 21 turnovers, which got cashed in, by the way, by the Raptors for 31 points. 8 of those turnovers came in that third quarter, and the Raptors cashed those in for 15 points. But that is a haunting number, and the turnovers have been an issue for the Sixers this year. 21, again, season high, though, so that's not great. But the more haunting thing in all this, and it was one of those things where I went back and I was like, wait, this can't be true. And I went back and I looked at the play-by-play, the breakdown on ESPN, and I was like, oh, my God. Tyrese Maxey. Not only did Tyrese Maxey not score a point in the fourth quarter, not only did he not score a point in the fourth quarter, but Tyrese Maxey only got 1 shot off in the fourth quarter. A 3, which he missed, obviously. That's hard to do. And the Sixers made a game of it. Quentin Grimes came alive. VJ Edgecombe looked good. Jared McCain actually played halfway decent. He played his by far, not that it was a very high bar to reach, but he actually played by far his best game of the year. Had his first points, so that's good. Tyrese Maxey, one shot in the fourth quarter. As I alluded to earlier, it just felt like, going back to the turnovers here, this team just looked way out of sync and still trying to find out how to play with one another and all that. But Nick Nurse felt the same way after the game. He was just talking about how the kickouts weren't there. It just seemed a lot of carelessness. And the unfortunate part of this, on top of the unfortunate, is that the Sixers have to play again tonight. And, back-to-backs, I don't know if you guys have followed this story or not, but they're tough. Especially when you have Tyrese Maxey lead the league in minutes played, and he's just being asked to do everything. Paul George, I don't know. If your guess is as good as mine if he plays tonight. Kelly Oubre is going to be out 2 weeks. Joel Embiid play tonight. Who knows? Your guess, again, is as good as mine. Bucks, by the way, coming into tonight, 1 game over 500. So not like they've been barn burners this season. That's what we're dealing with now in the city of brotherly love with the 76ers. They're in Milwaukee tonight. So, good times. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Let's get into the chat check. Rye, what's going on? Good morning. F Dallas, absolutely. April. Hello, April. Good morning. Pin 9617. Hello. Good morning, Mr. Tab. Wayne the Pain. Hello. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all have a great day. Thanks, Wayne the Pain. You too. Natalie P. Good morning. I told y'all Oubre was underrated. We needed him last night. I maintain my position, though unelected, as the president of the Kelly Oubre fan club. I love Kelly Oubre. He's been your best defender this year. He is still Johnny on the spot when it comes to when you need a run. He's a guy to help get one started with a steal, with just good old solid defense, running out, knocking down a three, cutting to the basket, backdoor on the baseline. I think he provides a lot. And over the 2 games leading up to the injury, unfortunately, over those 2 games, he really put his defense on a display. How he played against Jalen Brown was great. Who else was it? Oh, I'm blanking. There was one more. Oh, Cade Cunningham. Played great against Cade Cunningham. Yeah, that's who it was. But Jalen Brown was the bigger and better game. Leave me alone. Good morning. Sean Kilrain, hello. Wait, yikes. That was ugly basketball. Yes, it was. Morning. Saw this wait, what? Huh? Oh, I'll have to look into this. Saw this crazy FBI investigation reveal UTEP has been receiving NIL donations from Juarez cartel. Oh, okay. This is fun. So first of all, we got 4 of the 5 families in New York with the NBA betting scandal. Now we got the cartel. All right. One of the cartels. Sean Kilrain, hello. University officials claim they were unaware of the source of the funds and says the money would have been rejected had they known. Okay, well, I'll have to look into it. Thank you for mentioning that, Sean. T-Bro, what's up, brother? Situationships, football version. A situationship between a quarterback and a wide receiver is a non-committal, inconsistent connection on the field where their chemistry comes and goes. Wow, that is beautiful. That is in the Webster's Dictionary of football terminology, I guess. That should be in there. Situationships, football. Jeff, what's going on? Morning, Farzy. Good morning. Every Cowboys matchup so intriguing. Cowboys have their best offense statistically, and got back numerous defensive players. I don't know if the Eagles can score enough. Upsets special, likely. Womp, womp. You might be right. I don't Like, I don't think it's a lock. I think this is going to be a hard-fought game. But the Eagles, as often, I got to pick the Eagles to win, as they often do. And the Cowboys to choke. How much do you think Jalen wanted to quote Fangio? Everyone's got to whine on this team, says Natalie. I don't know. Let's ask Vic himself. Hey, Vic.
Everybody's got a whine and a bitch.
Love that man. I love that man. I swear, he is all of our fathers. He is all of our fathers. Sean Gillespie, leave Brittany alone. Natalie, D-Gun doesn't need clicks. Exactly. Damn right. Cool hand hurts. I like that. Keys to the castle, says Sean Gillespie, to an unproven, non-experienced play caller to the reigning Super Bowl champions. Yeah, isn't that weird? Why would you do that? I don't know. Oh, that's why Britney Spears was referenced. Thank you, Natalie. The kid that went viral. Oh, that's right. I feel like we living in an alternate universe, like in a simulation or some crap. How the hell is the quarterback having one of his best years, but it seems so bad? This reminds me a lot of the Eagles somehow not having even 100-yard, not even averaging at one point this season, like 3 weeks ago, not even 4 weeks ago, not even averaging 90 yards per game on the ground with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. Under 90 yards per game on the ground. That's remarkably terrible. This is supposed to be Cowboys week, and we're still finding ways to dump on Hurts. Yeah, you know, also, Jordan Mailata, I saw him say this. I couldn't get the cut for you guys, but I saw him say this. He was asked about the Jalen Hurts reports and all that stuff, and he's like, it's Dallas week, guys. Not only is it the next game, but it's Dallas week. That's what we're focusing on. April, doesn't D-Jack have a team to coach? Stop making it worse. I agree. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Jay-Z, Natalie, I'm unaware of that quote. Maybe I've heard it in a song. I don't know. No, but I've always said numbers never lie, but they sure as hell can deceive. April, AJ wants the spotlight and the drama. Jalen wants to be in charge. They are two very different players, but both alpha males. Yeah, I agree with that. Varzosaurus Rex, thank you so much. Good morning. I don't think the 76ers will win a title in my lifetime. They suck consistently. The only time they've been good in my lifetime is the early 2000s. Oh, that does suck. Sean, I always say, brother. I always say it. Philly, hello. I love Brandon Graham. Bringing him back is still good. He is still good at stopping the run. Even if he can't get to the quarterback, is a great. Yeah, I love having BG back. Yeah, I'm still very much in favor of that. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. Philadelphia 76ers back at it. 8 o'clock tip-off tonight in Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land. They got them tonight, 8 o'clock. Milwaukee 8-7 on the season. Sixers 8-6 on the year. No telling if Joel Embiid or Paul George will be in the lineup tonight. I would go ahead and assume Joe doesn't play. I'm going to assume PG does play. Want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Also, how about this one? Your Philadelphia Flyers. They're on the ice tonight, 7 o'clock in South Philly against those Blues. 9-6-3 on the season. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzetta. Jam-packed day today. Farzy Show wrapping now. Locked On 76ers coming up at 10 o'clock. Locked On Eagles Squad Show coming up at 11 o'clock today. Me, Jason Martinez, Harry Mays got you. Louis has the day off. And then, so talking to you guys a lot more throughout the day. All that good stuff. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you guys tomorrow. Ugh.